This is what used to be known as the Lenin shipyard. They've changed its name, it's now the Gdansk shipyard, and it's only a fraction of what it was at its height in the 1980s. But it's still almost sacred ground in Poland, because this is where, in 1980, the revolution against communist power began.
It was here that in 1980 an illegal trade union confronted Poland's Soviet-backed government and won. Led by a young electrician called Lech Wałęsa, the dock workers' union became famous worldwide as Solidarity.
Prawo do strajku. A następne prawa ustanowimy już niedługo.
Jerzy Borowczak was one of the 5 workers who began the strike.
What was the atmosphere like at the shipyards during the strike?
No, atmosfera była wspaniała. Tu na tej stoczni było 17 000 ludzi. 2 razy więcej było tutaj przed stocznią. Ludzie otwarcie przeciwstawili się komunizmowi. Otwarcie mówili, że nie chcą w Polsce komunizmu, że chcą demokratyzacji życia.
Did you have a sense that you were changing history?
Tak, miałem taką świadomość. Od soboty, kiedy już powstał Międzyzakładowy Komitet Strajkowy i już w Gdańsku stało około 100 zakładów, to już wiedziałem, że już Polska po tym strajku nie będzie taka jak przed tym strajkiem.
People flocked to join the new union. At one point, 10% of the adult population were members. It couldn't last. In 1982, the government banned the union and declared martial law. But the seeds of change had been sown, and 10 years later, Lech Wałęsa became Poland's first democratically elected president. It was clear that the strike of 1980 had been a historic turning point.
One of the strikers' first demands in 1980 was to put up a memorial to workers who'd been killed in protests in 1970. And they started work on this almost immediately. They put it up in 100 days using steel from workers in Krakow. And they didn't really have permission. They didn't have official permission to put it here. And it's amazing to me that it was erected in 1980. It's 42 meters high because it is, after all, an anti-Soviet sculpture. And during martial law, the authorities wanted to tear it down, but it's so close to the shipyard gates that they never dared to.
In a country without free speech, sculpture, art and music had been a means of expressing dissatisfaction with the regime. During the 1980s, the so-called tot art movement mocked the government with their outrageous performances.
That man have a most little cock in Polish underground. That man, most little. And the second is me. And now posters, our posters from lat 80.
What were you against? What were you?
You know, it was really shocking at the time. But I think we were against everything, and it had to do with a lot of things. You know, first of all, you know, as Konya said, it was very absurd. We were not that funny at all. On the other hand, we were quite funny because that was the only, you know, we were serious, we were depressive, we were anti-regime, you know.
We organized many
zany
alternative action.
Under communism, could you go around making silly noises and being ridiculous?
Tak podczas komunizmu, czy dawałeś radę w ten sposób?
No powiedz, że głównie szaleństwo pomogło nam ten komunizm przetrwać.
Only madness actually helped us survive it, you know.
Wszyscy normalnie ocipieli w tym
All
systemie.
normal people went crazy, so that was the only way to survive.
But when it came, the end of communism brought its own difficulties. The shipyard shrank to a fraction of its former size. Artists began to colonize its empty spaces. Grzegorz Klaman's sculptures opposite the famous shipyard gates are symbols of the transition out of communism. Inside the shipyard, he showed me an installation which recreates Lech Wałęsa's workshop.
I don't know to create like a memory room, but I want to show people how was the exactly space and feeling, you know, atmosphere.
And this has the very authentic, slightly grotty, slightly gloomy feeling, dirty feeling of a Soviet workshop.
Yeah.
And is that, you didn't want people to forget that? Is that, am I right?
Absolutely, for young people, it's like exactly, it's like, I don't know, like a dream, you know.
Iwona Zając has created a vast mural composed of the testimonies of the shipyard workers, who many feel have been sidelined from Polish history.
All my picture projects were about shipyard. When I spent here my days here, I really saw how the story used people, and after that
throw them away.
Threw them away. And this is why I decided to give these people voice. Now sometimes I'm joking, I'm a slave to this wall. I repair it every year because it's really important that people still read this.
More than 30 years after the first strike, it seems that Polish artists cannot escape the subject of solidarity and Lech Wałęsa, a divisive figure in modern Poland.
So we are seeking donations for the building which we want to buy.
For 25,000 euros you get a Lech Wałęsa's head?
Yes.
Why Wałęsa?
He's our hero. For us, memory is much more interesting, and the kind of conflicting narratives of memory are much more interesting in history and facts. There are so many conspiracy theories about what happened to Solidarność movement and how kind of revolution deflated because it has taken a power and it was a completely new situation.
Does Chesswall have Chesswall done a lot?
The subjective bus line is a strange hybrid between performance art and tourism.
So where are we now? What part of the tour?
It aims to give the dockyard workers a chance to reclaim their history. But for young artists living in the dockyard, like Maciek Salamon, there's a yearning to get away from these historical subjects.
No, what does that mean?
Fuck off.
That means fuck off.
Of course, history, I mean, it should be an inspiration, but me personally, I got enough of solidarity history. It's everywhere in this city, and like every major event is somehow connected with solidarity. So if I don't have to make something connected with solidarity, it's very good for me, and I'm happy.
So what's happening to the building? They're redeveloping it?
They got some plans for all the shipyard, like they're trying to build something what they called young city.
Who's supposed to live in it? What kind of people are supposed? Is it for?
I don't know, but I guess it will be like some kind of expensive, fancy place.
Right. Okay. Yuppie flats.
Yeah. For yuppies.
And will they kick you out, or they let you stay?
They probably will kick us out.
Gentrification is changing the shipyards again.
The artist is satirizing the transformation of an industrial space into an art space. You say you have to be equipped with adequate international contacts and perform tests for social problems, and in case of revitalization being discontinued, inform the media immediately. So it's quite, it's sardonic, isn't it?
It's
and
very
funny.
sardonic. It's a very kind of witty way of talking about this very ambiguous role art and art organization may play in the gentrification processes.
Having seen off communism, artists like Grzegorz are resisting the pressures of capitalism and trying to make their presence here permanent. In May this year, the Alternativa Art Festival will be held in this factory.
Why we're here? Because we want to preserve this industrial heritage, and we want to change this only function of this building, and we want to, as our dream to is make here a modern art museum, and a place like Tate Modern. This location is, in our opinion, the best. Connected our very long activities with solidarity movement, with industrial heritage, and the waterfront location, and the production around us is a perfect place to connect some different activities.
Gdansk is in the running to be European Capital of Culture in 2016, which may work in the artist's favour. For me, the combination of art and heavy industry gives the shipyard a special atmosphere. But its strange beauty is under threat. It's worth seeing now, in case it doesn't last.